Hey guys, make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on for more Team Wars content. Hello everyone and welcome to the KiiK part of the interview. I'm joined here by KiiK himself from ClawClan. Say hello.
I'm KiiK, interpreter and registered player of ClawClan. Nice to meet you today.
And KiiK will be discussing us just a bit more in depth on how their match, Week 7 match against Rookies went, a little about the meta-analysis, as well as the performance of some decks. And then when we get into the division talks, we will also mention not just their place within their division that finished for this main season, but also the new and exciting groups. And lastly, also the Trios Cup, some little information just about the top 32 segment. So let's get right into this. So we have the match report up on the screen. Rookies up against ClawClan, streamed by the very awesome Neo-chan. Thank you for streaming that. And yeah, obviously Rookies a very good opponent, always at the top of the main season, always with a 8-2 performance, 9-1 performance. They are always a very scary team to face. So I would like you to tell me a bit more about what you think about Rookies.
I think Rookies is a good team, consists of many Japanese professional players, but we, ClawClan, is stronger than them because we have ClawClan and T Yamada. I think ClawClan is the strongest cherry boy. He controls many decks in perfect accuracy, and T Yamada has the same thing with many top tier decks like Lunarite and Meridius and Gaia. So yes, we and our strategy of the Rookies, like meta and choosing decks, is so correct, I think.
Yeah, usually you do see the Japanese teams. Perhaps even you can tell me more about it because you are within this scene. From what I can recall, you guys do prefer Thunder Dragons a lot more, and I would like to hear a few words about Thunder Dragon's power level right now.
Our team thinks Thunder Dragon is stronger if it goes fluently, but the percent of going well is so lower than previous because losing level 4 dogs.
Yep. And we can see some more interesting things happening in this report. Obviously, the Yamada straight towards the end is very good. Kurosuke, your best player, as you mentioned, didn't get to play thanks to Yamada. Yamada was so good that the even better player wasn't needed. But we can see, for example, Super Heavy Samurai being used within this match. I'm sure it was confusing to see at first, especially if you were Shuto, because it's probably, I don't know, you see Go Genzaka and you don't know what deck it is, but it's Super Heavy Samurai. And
I think maybe we don't use Super Heavy Samurai because Super Heavy Samurai easily win over Thunder Dragon, but now they can't go over the defense of Harpies like Book of Moon and Magic.
Disruption cards in general.
Yes. So now in this environment, Harpies are top shared. So I think Super Heavy Samurai doesn't have any position. In our
I agree with that. For example, Super Heavy Samurai, you can say it's expected to get maybe one win against a deck that has a
Yeah.
bad matchup against Samurai, but Shuto's second deck, Harpies, easily made quick work out of Amayami Samurais. And there's a lot more decks, for example, Witchcrafter we can see from rookies, even repeated, but Yamada did manage to succeed against those. So overall, you can say rookies' lineup was a little more unexpected, but you guys certainly had the advantage nonetheless.
Their decks are so characteristic and unexpected, but top tier decks has each reasons why they can be top tier. So Super Samurai, Super Heavy Samurai, and Witchcrafter can be top and win over our top tier decks like Harpies and Meridius and Gaia, Lunarite, Sun's Dragon.
Yeah, well, there you can have that one deck that excels against one of the top matchups, but the reason why Harpies is top is because it has probably good matchups all across the board against most of the decks. So you really have to prepare in the Team Wars format a deck specifically to deal with Harpies, and you guys did exactly that with Lunalight. Even though sadly didn't get a win, you had Thunder Dragons to follow up, which is just as good, I would say. Yeah, so with that we can move on to the meta-analysis. So obviously this one in particular is for weeks 6 and 7, so it is for both of those weeks, and the only very high win rate deck we can see actually on the screen on the right side, it is Melodious. So any words about Melodious that you have?
We team the Happy can easily win Melodious like this meta analysis. So we're collecting many ideas to win and beat over Melodious, like what decks can unexpectedly and consistently win them.
I can see that because it's still somewhat of a new deck, has only been there for around 3 weeks, and every day it feels like it can get better, because you always have to take into account the way it plays. You have a lot of starter cards. You have the skill, which works very well, and whenever your main plan gets disrupted, there is always Necrofusion to counteract. So it always deals with a lot of decks within this engine, and it's only up to Harpies for now, or maybe Gaia, to alleviate with that. As for other decks, Fire Kings is certainly very red across the board, only being used as Lunalight counter nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And
but Fire King can't win over Melodious because Gardonix in the tomb built by Mozart, Schubert, and Lunarite can't win Melodious. So if the opponent uses Lunarite, we don't have any necessity to use Fire Kings. We use Melodious.
You can say that Fire Kings' time in the meta certainly has faded away, because there is just a better deck to use against Lunalight, a deck that often is pretty hard to counter for the top tier decks. We have seen that in the previous meta with Onomat, and we are seeing this now with Harpies. And with that we can move on to the division topic. So in the division, you guys had a lot of big names to fear. For example, rookies, as you mentioned. Even though you did say that you are stronger than them, rookies certainly a very good team to see in action. And not only them, but also you have BZ. They had a pretty bad last season, but certainly 5-2 now. It's no joke. And maybe lastly, there is ClawClan, always very consistent, and sadly towards the end here I see they lost twice from a 4-1 record. But enough with those. You have ClawClan sitting on the number 3 position, tied in a record with ClawClan and rookies, but with higher RD. The higher RD here is very useful because it theoretically gets you an easier group for you to come into. And speaking of groups, we do have here ClawClan's group up on the screen, and it is composed of the best performing team within the 4th division, Bricks and Potatoes. Then you have ClawClan, then XO, and then last Killer. So the first match for ClawClan will be up against XO, a pretty good team if you look at the players and the achievements that they got, but maybe they have not found the most consistent results in Team Wars. So tell me a bit about them, or about how you intend to prepare for them.
I want to keep it secret because we are planning a special strategy for winning over them.
That is perfectly fine. That is still a good response, because you did describe how you intend to prepare for them in a secret manner. And maybe you can tell me just a bit more about what you think of the other 2 teams within the division, just as your first impression, I suppose. Last Killer and Bricks and Potatoes.
Last Killers and Bricks and Potatoes, both so strong team, but especially in my opinion, I am looking forward to making a match with BNP, because just they are all-star team like Grucius and Rook Taylor, and so I want to see our members win over them.
Right, and definitely we are very excited to see that the number 2 versus number 3 on week 10. It's gonna feature a lot of really good matches if the viewers can take a look at the other groups as well. And with that, if you do not have anything more to say about the groups, we can move on to the trials. And we only will talk just a bit about how the tournament went. So for those who are not aware, Trials Cup is a 3v3 format, Swiss into top cut, usually 5 rounds, where the unique thing about this is that the card pool is shared. So if player A runs 3 Book of Moon, player B and player C are unable to run 3 Book of Moon. So it promotes a little bit of diversity. And well, if we take a look at the deck breakdown, you have Harpies often being used as the meta deck within the 3 groups, and then Melodious as well can be featured. Those decks rely on some staples, the Treacherous Trap Hole and perhaps Book. And then you have decks that are less popular but very good in formats like these. You have Lunalight, you have Blue Eyes, you even have Yosenju being used to a very good potential. And even later towards the pie chart here, you see Water, you see Magnet, Ritual Beast, Triamid, and a lot of diversity overall for this tournament. So I'm sure Team Wars and GG Tour will host another in the near future. So whoever is interested in that, please keep an eye on that. And with that, if you don't have anything else to say, in regards to trials or whatever. Do you have any parting closing thoughts? Any shoutouts that you want to give?
Nothing special I I have to say.
Thank you so much for joining in, KiiK, today, and it was a very good pleasure to hear more from the match that you had against rookies, and some more insight in regards to the groups and the meta analysis. So I hope it was very enjoyable for you, and see you in another interview. Hello everyone, and welcome to the FM part, Forbidden Memories part, within this Team Wars Talks. I'm joined here today by none other than PDS. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
And we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting stuff behind the scenes on what the match up against YGL went, and just a little more insight about the division and the groups that Forbidden Memories is part of. So let's get right into it. We have the match board up on the screen right now. Forbidden Memories, YGL, two very good teams, and this time around it went into Forbidden Memories' favor with quite a decisive win of 10-5. Only 3 players have played during that day, and of course we also see Zeta closing in with Melodious and Harpies, and we also see Tramids as well. But just as interesting of a report from the other side, with TG Dino still being usable with tuner level balancer, as well as Ritual Beast. So tell me a little about a preparation process for this match.
Right, so we went in thinking that Melodious was going to be a deck that would take a couple wins for us, and then obviously the Harpy strategy, is really, really powerful against a lot of the Team Wars decks. Like when you're bringing in counters like Gaia and anything like just those random decks that they like to bring, all of these different teams. Harpies just completely stomps them, so
Right.
really, really strong deck. So we wanted to have our best players playing the best decks, so we just tried to play what we were the most comfortable with.
Yeah, that's a very good plan to go into. Just playing your own game, in other words, not perhaps caring that much about what they could bring, but having them to be tasked with what could they use to counter you, rather
Right.
than the other way around.
Right, and especially with a team like YGL, you can just tell from their match report. You see TG Dinos, you see they even brought Ritual Beasts. Like you can't really even prepare for that. It's just something that you can't. So we just tried to be our own, have our own best players play the best decks.
Definitely, that's a really good strategy to go about this. Not just in the post Arc 5 and post New Balance meta, but also just in Team Wars in general. Getting that 3, maybe 4 counts of the best deck, pair that with 2, maybe 3 of the second or third best deck, and have that little 1-2 counter decks for your first counter. And yeah. It went really well for you, and it was a very important win, because if they were to win, YGL would have been 5-2, and that would have been the 4th 5-2 within the division. We'll get onto that later. And still 4-3 for you guys, 4-3 for them, very important for you. And with that, we can move on to the meta analysis, maybe get just a little more insight on something cool, maybe from the week 6 and 7 games. I don't know, I'm seeing Melodious with green all across the board almost, just
yeah, it's interesting
Harpies.
actually.
Yeah. So, do you have a few words about Melodious?
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, I think the deck is really bad, but it does really well in Team Wars because it doesn't translate, from tournament play to Team Wars, because Team Wars is a whole different beast, because you can't really side deck. Basically what you have in your deck is all you have to out the Bloom Diva. So like if you're not main decking cards like Chalice, just random cards that can get over it, you're gonna have a lot of trouble dealing with it, especially in a Team Wars environment, because it's gonna be deck after deck losing to Bloom Diva. So you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly shifted the meta around itself, even more so than Harpies, you could say, because now every deck that is within Team Wars does need to have that Chalice. For example, Gaia initially, I believe post-Banlist, they did drop a few Chalices, maybe even all. But then because of Bloom Diva, Chalice had to be included back. And I've even seen a couple of players playing Phoenix Chain as well. So it's just that meta response for Melodious, which is kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially, yeah, just like I said, because you don't have the access to the side deck, so a lot of your main deck tech choices, they just have to be really broad selections, like you said, Phoenix Chain and Chalice. Those work against a lot of decks, and they really help against the strategies that are really oppressive, like the Bloom Diva is really, really strong. So yeah, you definitely need to have those cards in your deck.
Right, and I'm also seeing perhaps Thunder Dragon just below it. It's not it's not the best version of itself right now, but what I'm curious to see, what do you think about Thunder Dragon's place right now?
So right now we're in a place where a lot of the decks are consistent, but they don't have any consistency skills anymore. So we don't have, we don't have Anamana play anymore. So and we don't have, the Gaia skill as good as it once was. We don't have the TG skill as good as it once was. We don't have, Cyber Style. So a lot of these decks, their core strategies, instead of relying on the skill, they have to rely on their own actual engine cards. So what's happening is, like with Thunder Dragons, they lost a lot of their consistency, but it's still a very powerful deck. Like if you can actually play, it's a very good deck. But you don't have access to Aloof Lupine, or you have to choose between Aloof Lupine or Gold Sarky. So you basically lost 2 of your great cards in your deck. So that's the biggest problem we're facing right now. But as far as Thunder Dragons go, yeah, like I said, it's a really strong deck, but it's just not as consistent. And how does that work in this meta? A lot of the decks went down, but I think Thunder Dragon suffers greatly from the decreased consistency because they were already pretty inconsistent, even with 2 Aloof Lupine and 2 Gold Sarks. So, and it's pretty evident here. It really only has a good matchup against. It's only been doing really well against Fire Kings and Lunalights from the looks of it, right? Everything else is about 50% or less than 50%. So.
Yeah, definitely you can say Thunder Dragon, even as a deck before in the Onomato play meta, it was among the few, if not the only deck that didn't have that consistency skill. And because we have went into this new meta where there still are a couple of consistency skills, although they have a big caveat to them, right? You have Gaia having to return a monster, which means that you won't get your combo as often as possible. And other decks like that, just a lot more restrictions. And Thunder Dragon, well, even if you had a skill like that, you still have to think about the starters and just the amount of breaking that the deck can have. It's just not worth it at this point within Team Wars.
Yeah, and it's a little bit unfortunate too because a card like Levinier is exactly what you need to beat cards like Saber Dancer, non-targeting, destruction. And unfortunately, I think teams are just gonna have to find another answer for Lunalights. I mean, it's also interesting because Melodious actually has a really good Lunalight matchup, so it has that at least. So we already got our answer.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually that I wanted to bring up with Melodious being the new counter, you could say, to Lunalights. In the past, a lot of people used Fire Kings, a lot of people used Thunder Dragon to get rid of the Lunalights in the Onomad meta and stuff like that. But now Melodious has the perfect answer to that and a lot more because, well, not every rogue deck can out that Bloom Diva, and we can see that the later you go in the meta-analysis, the more green it is, like 100% win rate, albeit in just 3 matches against water and stuff like that. I don't know.
I like Melodious for Team Wars. It's a really decent deck, to be honest, especially if they aren't planning for it. But I think going into week 8, I think that definitely everyone's gonna be planning for it.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see how that progresses out. So speaking of week 8, we do have the divisions up on the screen. We are currently in week 8, but let's see just how stacked this division really was, taking a look back at it in the first 7 weeks. So for Vienna Memories, albeit they are sixth seeded within this division, or rather sixth ranked, they still are a 4-3 record team, which is very, very good, and only just one RD behind YGL. Despite them winning against YGL, they do have one more RD, which can be to their detriment, can be to their advantage, depending on how you look at the groups, which we will take a look in a bit. But it's undeniable that this division was pretty hard for you guys, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't think we've ever had it, because we've been playing Team Wars since Season 2. I don't think we've ever had a division with bricks and potatoes like during the main season, so that was interesting, because we've always had that little we've always been playing against them, like top 4, top 8. Every single time we make it to the playoffs, we always had to play against them, so that was interesting to play them early this time around. And yeah, I know, honestly, a lot of great teams here. Unfortunately, we do have 2 teams that didn't perform as well as expected, but with a bunch of teams being 4-3, that's to be expected. The wins have to come from somewhere, right? So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, and you bring up a pretty interesting point with Bricks and Potatoes and Forbidden Memories being a single division. That could be attributed to the past performances within this past few seasons. You guys are around that power level perhaps now, and couple that with Duel Links Taiwan, KiiK Code, other very good teams around that power level that you guys are at, and you really do get that division where 6 of the spots are basically 4-3 or better teams. It's actually insane. I don't think I've ever seen a 6th ranked team being 4-3.
Yeah, me either, to be honest. I think for sure though, the teams I was expecting to be the most difficult, or at least being 1st and 2nd, were going to be Bricks and KiiK Code, but to see them 2nd and 4th is kind of surprising. It's like, wow. So it was everybody was basically just throwing punches at each other. We were taking L's and W's off of each other.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what we'd like to see, right? 5-2,
because,
just being the best record.
As week 8, 9, and 10 play out, it's gonna be really interesting to see the losses or the wins get added to these, and then see how much the division is gonna change from here.
Oh yeah.
We're not playing each other, so some of these teams got a lot harder groups, than other groups. So.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to take into account now that we can move on to your guys' group. You do have Diffusion being the first within this group, Inti-Sun being the second, and you guys being the third, with Chicks with X being the last. And your next match will be up against Inti-Sun, who, despite being the 3rd seeded team from Tilted Tri Division, up against the 6th seeded team within the Sexal Field Division, you guys have the same exact record, not as far as RD, but 4-3.
Yeah,
so if you have any thoughts about Inti-Sun, if you prepared for them.
One of our previous members, GNC, I believe he owns the team, or he's the manager. I forget which, but we did actually scrim against them, at the start of the season, and we did take a W there. So hopefully we can repeat that W on this week 8.
Yeah, sounds good.
And we're coming for you, GNC.
Yeah, he's gonna really have to watch this episode and see if he can dig any information perhaps to use against you guys, but I'm sure it's gonna be a very close and tight match. And that is with Inti-Sun, but you guys also have Diffusion on week 9 and on the last week Chicks with X, so we're gonna get to those as well. Good luck with not just this upcoming match, but also with the others.
Yes.
And I think that could be it. If you have any last shoutouts, any special mentions, anything at all before we close out?
Yeah, so I want to give a shout outs to Stevie and Hormigon, my teammates on FM. We're going to be playing on the Duel Links Invitational this Sunday on the Konami stream, so make sure to root for us. They're really great teammates. They always help me play test. We help each other. So hopefully we do well.
Yeah, I wish you all the good luck, and everyone make sure to tune in the remote duel. Was it Invitational?
Yeah, it's a Duel Links Invitational.
Right, yeah. I didn't remember the full name of it, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's really it's really long for no reason.
I believe it was 24 players, right?
It's 16. It's interesting because it was Usually they do only North America, but they decided to do 8 North America and 8 Latin American. We all play against each other, so that should be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a bloodbath. Hopefully you're not gonna face one of your teammates in the first round
I know,
or
right?
so.
Yeah. There's I did believe there's we have Nyx, Zaid King, Gregulator, Lunzi, Minato, Nieli. So there's a lot of people actually within the Duel Links community, so that's awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely. So I wish all of you guys good luck and to enjoy some really high quality games over at the remote duel. And yeah, I guess that's it. So see you guys around.
Talk to you later, boys.
Hello everyone and welcome to a very interesting topic that we have for this week's Team Wars Talks. I'm joined here today by Drizzles and Relup. Say hello guys.
Hey guys.
Hello. What's up? What's up?
And we will be talking a little more in depth about the whole group's situation that we have going on in weeks 8 to 10. So for anyone unfamiliar, in weeks 1 through 7 we have a round robin format where each of the teams faces each of the other teams one time only, and because there are 8 teams total, that means 7 matches, and based on that performance we then go into another round robin format with weeks 8 through 10, where we get a couple of spicy matchups from outside of the division battles. So without further ado, let's get right into the groups. So starting with the first group, which will be headlighted by Pharaohs as well as ClawClan, SEM, and Divine. So yeah guys, Pharaohs 7-0 team, the only undefeated team, but there's a couple of other really strong teams with ClawClan and SEM both being 4-3. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting group actually. Like normally you would think if you're like the undefeated team in terms of Pharaohs and like the leader of one of your divisions, you're gonna get in relatively easy group stage with maybe one normal or decent opponent and the other should be much weaker. But here you actually face 2 teams who made playoffs last season with SEM and ClawClan both finishing top 8, if I remember correct, so that's definitely not gonna be easy. On the other side, Pharaohs is already 7-0, they're already qualified for playoffs, so like even if they lose 1 or 2 games, it's not too big of a deal. But there for ClawClan and SEM, it's a lot more problematic. They need to win like 2 out of 3 games to make playoffs, and yeah, for that they need to defeat the undefeated Pharaohs. That's not gonna be easy.
Yeah. Especially with Pharaohs having 2 tough opponents in their last 2 weeks, they still do need to play strong. Otherwise, they might end up losing motivation or losing their momentum that they have in the season so far, which could be a changing factor in playoffs for them.
Yeah, definitely. They would have to continue a pretty good performance and probably not lose the goal in sight. Like, yeah, the goal is right there. They did qualify for playoffs, but you still want to really secure that first place within your division. And certainly against ClawClan and SEM especially, it's probably not gonna be an easy task. But thankfully they do face Divine in the first week. So how this goes is basically like an X shape for the first week, for the 8th week rather. So Pharaohs faces Divine and then ClawClan faces SEM, like a cross shape, and that applies for every group. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting to say the least, how these matchups unfold, because well, ClawClan and SEM is one of the featured matches for this week. So yeah, I guess everything kind of has been said about this one, unless you guys have anything else to add.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be exciting to watch ClawClan and SEM since they're both 4-3. They really do need to get these wins in this tough division. It'll be exciting to see how they fare.
Yeah, that's basically the same, I would say. It's one of the best matches for this week, and it's gonna have a huge influence on their performance for the remaining weeks. You can maybe even already say if one of them is losing, then maybe their chances are almost 0, depending a bit on the RD. Expecting them, of course, to win against Divine, but they still need to fight Pharaohs after.
Yeah, it's certainly gonna be a bloodbath, and it all starts with this week. Whoever emerges victorious certainly has put themselves on the road to playoffs. And alright, so let's go on to the next group. We have Group 2 right here. Uchihas as the first place, BR Meta the 4th, YGL the 5th, and Shadow Links for the 8th place. Right off the bat, there's a few surprises. So maybe people have expected teams like YGL to be around that position, even though they do have a very good record of 4-3. And BR Meta was expected to be a pretty good team on paper, but perhaps two of the bigger surprises would be Uchiha's on the first place, second place overall within the league in the first 7 weeks, but also Shadow Links being on the 8th place.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I think Shadow Links is really just like surprising, especially considering they started the season 2-1 and they've been on a 4-game losing streak. After such a strong season last season, I don't think anybody really expected that from them.
Yeah, I think that's mainly due to one of their leaders and organizers not being super active in the past weeks, and yeah, you really notice it after their strong top 8 performance in the last season. They're having troubles, but I still think like even though like Shadow Links is so far behind, the overall group is still pretty balanced. Like even though like they're 8th seed and Uchiha's is first place, I would normally say that like all the 4 teams are on a similar power level.
I agree. You can't really count Shadow Games. Like they can still easily steal some wins here and disrupt the playoffs.
No.
You're just yeah.
Yeah, that would be the objective, I guess, for Shadow Links, considering their XM5 record. Very rarely, if at all, do XM5 teams go to playoffs, and well, that's not gonna be one of the things that we have to look out for in this one.
Yeah.
There's also gonna be, for example, Uchiha's against BR Meta, which I believe does put the only 2 BR teams up against each other.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Uchiha's
really great. Seeing them go, and this is their first season, and they're really taking off, which I think is exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that, and Uchiha's as well. Just like last season, having a really good start, but hopefully this time around it's gonna continue being very good. I mean, they are 6-1, just one more win, and they are basically guaranteed. Even right now, like they probably could lose all 3, and thanks to the RD, they could probably still get in. But obviously, they do want to focus on getting that first place within the division for the bye.
Yeah,
and it's also going to be interesting to see if Uchiha's Uruchihara can continue his amazing streak. So far, he's at 27 wins and the first place at the power rankings, so definitely the top performing player of his team. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he's adapting to the new meta post ban list and everything. Like we saw what they did last week, but maybe some things are changing. We got like a new box and all that stuff, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the fact he got 27 wins within the first 7 weeks, that's insane, because that's not counting weeks 8 to 10 obviously, and it's not counting playoffs, it's not counting anything. And 27 wins, that's basically 3 wins, and putting Uchiha's in such a position that basically they are now, you know, poised to win at this group.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing what he managed to do for this.
Yeah, he's been putting the team on his back for sure.
And there you can also see that's like if you compare it, for example, to SGL last season, how different like the individual performance of a team can be. Because from what I remember, SGL was like a team that had no like outstanding player, but more like working really well together as a team, and they have like 4, 5, 6, 7 players who are all contributing like more or less equally. And here you have like one player who is always getting the wins in.
Yeah. It shows how different like teams can see. Like SGL really succeeded by just having like great leadership and planning, it seems, which they've been lacking this season. Whereas a team like Uchiha relies on some star players to really carry most of their wins.
Yeah, definitely, and especially in the previous meta where skill in the mirror department could shine. I'm excited to see if we're gonna see a repeat of that mirror performance from Urushihara and as well from Uchiha's. But yeah, once again, another group that has 3, 4, and 3 teams or better. But yeah, that's besides the point. So we can move on perhaps to the next one, which will be made out of Sensei, Genkai Code, X Factors, and Garuda. So once again, another group with 3, 4, and 3 teams or better. Let me remind you, X Factors is the 5th seed, but they do have a 4 and 3 record, and this one is looking kind of tough. It is made of all Eastern teams as well. We have 1 Korean, 1 Indonesian, and 2 Japanese teams. Mainly, obviously, I'm not quite familiar if every single member is of one nation, but yeah, this this group is looking kind of tough for the middle pack teams. What do you guys think?
Oh, I think it's really dangerous because like at the beginning of the season you would say like Genkai Code is Destiny Draw 2.0 with Sun Sun and all the superstars, so everybody expected like a great season from them. But like after a good start, it was not too great anymore, and now they also need to fight and win like 2 out of 3 games to make playoffs. So they can't slack anywhere. And yeah, the same as for X Factors. Like they're always if they're making playoffs, it's like by a close margin. But yeah, they definitely gonna show up and bring their best. And yeah, Garuda, being one of the teams who made playoffs in the past seasons, is sadly struggling a lot. So I'm not sure if we really can expect anything from them in the last 3 weeks in terms of wins.
Yeah, but at least coming from the other 3 teams, it's gonna be very intense competition here. The only one that's really guaranteed in is Sensei, but they still need to win like at least one of their matches to really guarantee their spot.
Yeah, they are
it'll be
6 and 1.
exciting. It's interesting to look at X Factors and Genkai Code because X Factors got off to an 0-2 start, and then they went 4-1 after that, whereas Genkai Code started 4-1 to the season, and now they're 0-2 in the past 2 weeks. So they kind of had a flip-flop in their seasons. So we'll see how they can carry that into the group stage, try to turn things around.
I think one thing you can say about Genkai Code, what you especially noticed like last week, most teams last week were already on the so like a new deck with Melodios and stuff. And Genkai Code still brought like 2 Thunder Dragons, and they were more like still following the old meta a bit, and that was not really working well. So I'm definitely interested to see if they're now gonna bring finally Melodios, who was maybe the 2nd best deck in the whole format, and if they can adapt now, or if they're still stuck with their older decks.
Yeah, hopefully their loss and the bye week has given them the time they needed to realize to change up their strategy a bit.
Yeah, and that's one of the many storylines from not just this group, but most of the groups, right? Not just Genkai Code and X Factors in Week 8 being a feature match, but also if Sensei can continue their dominance within this season of Team Wars. They did go to playoffs in last season, but sadly they did get knocked out top 12. And they seemingly are reaching for that number 1 spot within the division, guaranteeing them that bye week for round 1 straight to top 8. And yeah, that's one of the storylines. Garuda, as well as mentioned, Drizzles. It's looking kind of rough, and at this point, it's best to just take a few RD from the teams, maybe a win. Anything for your own sake, right?
Yeah, try to get some wins in, shake things up maybe.
Yeah, can always use a little fun deck, as we have seen previously in Week 7, most notably against the 207 matches.
Yeah.
Alright, and with that we can move on to the next one, the 4th group, which will be tailed by FHX, Kizuki Reborn, Rookies, and Legends. This group, at first, you would say that it would appear underpowered somehow, but then you take a closer inspection and you see Rookies sitting on the 5th place, not the 1st, 5th, and FHX is on the 1st. So what happened there, guys? FHX number 1 within a really tough division featuring Genkai-ko, Bricks and Potatoes.
Yeah, FHX is.
Go ahead. Sorry.
FHX is putting up like a really great season. Like that's their 2nd season in Team Wars, same as for YGL, the other team from China. and they are both improved a lot compared to last season. But their FHX is really outstanding, having players like Mr. W, who is performing really, really well with especially Witchcrafters. Yeah, you can see FHX is sometimes bringing some out of the box strategies, bringing some rook decks, not just spamming harpies or like the other tier 1 meta deck. And yeah, they're definitely successful with that. And like one of their only losses to here the LTW and Bricks and Potatoes, both were like really, really close, like 7-10 or 8-10. And especially against the LTW, they almost had to win and then nearly got it and throw it away. But yeah, they're having a really great season.
Yeah, I think the top 3 in this division are all like really close, and it's gonna be some exciting matches to watch. One team I'm really interested by is Kazuki Reborn, because they started off the season 0-3, and like when you're 0-3, you almost like give up on your hopes of playoffs. But they've turned it around, went on a 4-game win streak. Hopefully they can keep that up.
Yeah, definitely, and it is a good test for them to face none other than Rookies, who is widely regarded as one of the best and most consistent Team Wars teams, always sitting towards that #1 position in the all teams division standings graphic, especially because like last season they did go 8-2, #1 within all the teams. In the previous season, I believe they were 6-4 though, but in the season before they were 9-1. And like with a team that has such a history like this, Kazuki Reborn really needs this win in order to put out a statement. And same for FHX later on as weeks go by, in order to solidify their position as a new playoffs contender. They are 5-2. They do need 2 wins to guarantee, but one for sure. If they don't lose too much RD, they do have quite a bit of RD. And as Drizzles mentioned earlier, those 2 losses were extremely close. The one against Bricks and Potatoes was almost a comeback. I believe they did win like 5 in a row before they lost 8-10, and sadly the loss against Duel Links that one was a little jarring, considering they were up 7-2, but they can only look on that and hopefully improve. And yeah, with that we can move on to perhaps the next group, which will be Group 5. Now we have the 2, 3rd, 6th, and 7th places, headlighted by BZ, Phoenix, Toon Squad, and Stellar Trace. So yeah, well, not considering the match that just went on just a few minutes earlier, this would have been a domestic matchup between BZ and Stellar Trace, and Phoenix and Toon Squad as well is actually just as exciting considering the ownership of Toon Squad. But yeah.
And this is the first division we've seen where only like 2 teams really have a shot at the playoffs here, I think.
No.
Yeah, pretty much. The first 2 teams do have a 4-3 record or better, while the other 2 teams have a 2-5 record or worse. And well, yeah, BZ 5-2 at this point in time. Phoenix 4-3. Phoenix does need those 2 wins, but BZ can be safe with 1 win as well. But overall, you're looking to get as many wins as possible. And BZ and Phoenix, that's gonna be a really exciting game in week 10.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see. It could come down to BZ versus Phoenix being what Phoenix needs in order to get to playoffs, depending on how their first 2 weeks go. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point to bring up, because in week 10 we still don't know many of the playoffs teams. It's always coming down to deciding matches that really makes or breaks the playoffs hopes of teams. And as we've seen in previous seasons, there's either this team needs to win or they need to lose with this exact amount of RD for this other team to qualify. There's so many scenarios that we have to take into account, and even these matches from week 8, for example, BZ up against Stellar Trace, depending on the RD, well, and the future results, this could be pretty bad for BZ. Who knows? But yeah,
Yeah.
all the good hopes, and yeah, this group seemingly balanced.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch.
Definitely. And with that, we can move on to the next one. Group number 6, with Bricks and Potatoes, ClawClan, XO, and Last Killer. So this group is kind of fun, I would say. So we do have Bricks and Potatoes, obviously one of the better teams within Team Wars, number 2 in the division, 5-2 record, with a couple of teams such as ClawClan, which have always had pretty good seasons, but almost feeling like they in the past, obviously years and years ago, they didn't perform as expected, but as the seasons progressed, it feels like now ClawClan has definitely earned the respect of teams, and we can see that very clearly with them being third within the first division, Goblin Circus, or the second one rather. I'm not too familiar on that, but they are above Sun Clan and Rookies in RD despite the same record. So it kind of could have been either way for this particular spot, but I guess one of the disappointments within this group would be the 6th place of XO, who was hyped a bit to be one of the super teams coming together, a team full of all-stars. What do you guys think about XO?
Yeah, they're definitely not really making up their expectations, coming mostly from Lost Tribe, playoff team from last season, with some other good players. They also had like their first season was a bit of a different team last season, but they got a lot of great additions, and it's tough.
Yeah, it shows that they need Taha. That's the missing factor here. Without Taha, they're nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not that sure about that.
I mean, Taha could improve any team. He did earn Coach of the Season in Season 2 and Management of the Season in the previous one. He does have what it takes to perhaps make a team good, but yeah, I guess.
I mean, hands down, you need to see like one of the main reasons that team even got created were the TCG players with Tommy and Gabe, and they're not playing Duel Links at all anymore. And
Yeah.
I think that is quite a big reason why XO is not as successful anymore. They had some close losses. Every war they lose, they have, I think, a good lineup, but yeah, mainly having some misplays that are deciding those wars.
Yeah, it always kind of comes down to those misplays that maybe in the moment, in the heated moment, obviously you wish you didn't do that, but later on the ramifications of those misplays could cost you the playoffs, and ultimately you just have to look back and learn from your mistakes and accept and as well move on. But yeah, ClawClan as well, once again solidifying, and their first opponent is XO, so both of these teams have something to prove, and especially ClawClan, who is 4-3 right now. They do need at least 2 wins in order to secure, or rather have a high shot at playoffs. So it's gonna be exciting for.
Yeah, and what we could maybe mention here is that like in the last 3 weeks, they had one player with T Yamada for ClawClan who got like the majority of their wins. I think he got like 14 wins in 2 weeks, so that's definitely one of their hot contenders at the moment, and that's definitely something their opponent needs to look out for.
Yeah, definitely they do have to take care of that. Yamada, very good player. I've watched ClawClan in these past few weeks, and he does have what it takes to really be a contender for a really good player within this season. And I'm waiting to see if he can bring any more, perhaps especially against Bricks and Potatoes, the number 1 team within this group. And with that, we can move on perhaps to the next group, unless you have something else to add.
Done.
Alright,
Yes, we can move on.
let's go. So, group number 7 now. Diffusion, Inti Sun, Forbidden Memories, and Chicks with Legs. As I mentioned earlier, right? So you have the seeds of the group being 1, 4th, 5th, and 8th. In that kind of seeding group, there's a higher likelihood that you can have 4-3 teams, as we've seen in two of them. There were 3, 4-3 teams or better. In this one, however, we have the other type of seeding, which is 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th, and this one also features 3, 4-3 teams or better. Diffusion, Inti-Sun, Forbidden Memories are all 4-3 or better, which just is a testament to how how much of a bloodbath the 4th division really was, where every single team seemingly just traded wins. What do you think about that, Relop?
I think the two teams at the bottom there, Stellar Trace and Divine, they also help to contribute to this, given a lot of additional wins, which kind of stack the rest of the division. Like, other than Stellar Trace and Divine, every single team has at least 4 wins, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Like, trading wins against each other, and at this point, like, you had FHX, who really wasn't favored to look. If you had the first look at the division on day 1 of this new season, you surely wouldn't have said they would be number 1, but here we are. And with that, from FHX, who is 5-2, who is number 1 within that division, all the way down to the 6th place, who is 4-3. 4-3 isn't a bad record by any means. 6th seed, like, would you consider being 6th seed in this group an advantage if you are Forbidden Memories? I think you do.
Yeah, you could see it like that, because they can easily turn this around, right? With their group now, they can easily just take some wins and just skyrocket up, because the division is so close. Everyone's separated by 1 game. Like, the difference between FHX 1st place and Forbidden Memories 6th place is 1 game difference. That's all it takes for Forbidden Memories to hop that many positions. So it's going to be crazy to see how these playoffs go through. Especially, I can't wait to see what the standings look like at the end of week 9, going into week 10, to see how close it's going to be for that final week.
No, but that also makes it, in my opinion, really hard for like the 2 smaller teams of this division. Even though Inti-Sun has a good record, I think they're gonna have a lot of problems against both Diffusion and Forbidden Memories.
Yeah, I can see that, and even you could say even Diffusion could have a little hard time up against either Forbidden Memories or Inti-Sun. Inti-Sun do have a 4-3 record, and they have at times had these glimmers of really good tactics, and for a new team being 4-3 at this point, it's a very good sight to see, and that just is another testament as to how serious they should be treated from these 2 veteran teams of Diffusion and Forbidden Memories.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting group to watch here, for sure. Lots of highlight matches coming in these next weeks that are going to really shape up the playoff picture.
Yep. And with that, we can now move on to Group 8, which is also the last between Switcheroo, Duel Links Taiwan, Hashtag, and Duel Links Latam. So first off, I want to highlight the Week 9 match between Duel Links Taiwan and Duel Links Latam. Duel Links, let's go.
Yeah, Duel Links names.
Yeah, gonna be Duel Links Taiwan in Duel Links and Duel Links Latam inside Duel Links Teamers. Lots of Duel Linksers in the chat. Yeah. But aside from that, on a more serious note, this group looks pretty fine for Switcheroo and Duel Links Taiwan, I would say. Like, they both have what it takes to get those 2 wins that they need, especially Duel Links Taiwan. Or rather, both, actually. They are both 4-3, right?
Yeah. They are both 4-3.
Alright, that does mean it's a little more rough between them.
Duel Links Taiwan is 5-2, actually. My apologies. And Switcheroo is 4-3.
Right, yeah. I knew I misremembered something, because I knew one of these 2 teams was 5-2. But yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually, how Duel Links Taiwan is 5-2. Just another testament to show how Zexal Field of a division was Zexal Field.
Yeah, it's a wild division for sure.
But yeah, Switcheroo, I guess they're gonna have to not to say warm-up weeks, but they need still to take Duel Links Slalom and Hashtag seriously. Hashtag is 3 and 4 despite that 6th rank within the division. It was a pretty hard division, but still, it's nothing guaranteed just yet for either of the teams. But it does look a little easier for Taiwan.
It looks a bit like the previous group with Diffusion and Forbidden Memories, where you would say here like Switcheroo and Duel Links Taiwan are the favorites. But I can see Hashtag doing well. But yeah, like if everything goes as planned, one of those two teams is going 3-0 and the other one is going like 2-1, and both Duel Links Taiwan and Switcheroo will make it. But yeah, I'm happy to get proven wrong and surprised, and Hashtag doing also really well.
Yeah, I would actually really would love if we can see some action from Duel Links Slalom. I believe they, in my eyes at least, they were one of the newer teams that had that potential, considering their status currently within the Duel Links community. But 1 and 6, that's a little rough. So I'm hoping they have what it takes, perhaps, to just bounce back a bit and get at least 1, maybe 2 wins to end up the season. And yeah, I wish the best for them. So with that, we now end the group's discussion, and it was a very enjoyable and insightful discussion to have with you two guys. Thank you once again for joining, and thank you to everyone who's watched. See you around.